Hi, I'm Bob Batcher, the Executive Director for Prime Plus Senior Centers, and this is Prime Time with Bob. It's good to be with friends during this time, and boy, I'm with a really long-term friend. I'm not going to say old friend, Sheriff Joe Barron. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good. How are you, Bob?
Doing good. You know, when we set this interview up, I really want to talk about your generosity with seniors. You've got Triad, which is a fantastic community development program. And I also want to hold you still accountable for coming in and serving those turkeys you gave us at Thanksgiving during our lunch. So you've been a very giving sheriff when it comes to serving seniors. But the world's gone crazy.
Yeah, it's
Is
changed.
that kind of an understatement?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think the world has really gone crazy. I think that there are definitely events going on that are unusual compared to what we're used to. But it's nothing that the world hasn't seen before, and it's nothing that we can't overcome. We just need to stay patient and be on our guard, especially with COVID-19, and take care of each other and look out for each other.
Yeah, I mean, on March 16th, a date that I will always remember now, uh, Prime Plus was shut down as we knew it in the building. About the same time, you were being challenged in the jail, and it would have been really easy to say, the heck with it, right? Let's just, I keep saying, do what we normally do, but do it differently. And my hat's off to you guys because you took a real challenge that we've never been involved in before and
Yeah,
turned it into a success story, right?
we
And that's with
certainly.
COVID in the jail.
And I remember the same date, March 16th, which is when the city decided to make some decisions about how they were going to operate in the world of COVID-19. We at the sheriff's office, I'd actually had meetings prior to that. And in fact, it was March 12th. I had a big meeting with the number of our leadership in the jail to talk about how we were going to respond to COVID-19 and how we were going to try to prevent it from getting into the jail, and what were our responses going to be if it did get into the jail? How were we going to manage it? And so we were talking shop, so to speak, in reference to how we were going to respond long before the governor or the city or even the president declared states of emergency. Because we saw this thing coming. You saw what was going on in Italy. You saw what was going on up in New York. And to me, it wasn't a matter of if it was going to get into our jail. It was a matter of when, and then what were we going to do about it. And so we did a number of things, and we enhanced our screening processes for inmates coming into the jail, new arrests that the police were bringing in, and we kind of reversed order on some of the things that we do. Normally, if you get arrested, you're brought to the jail. A deputy will come out, they'll search you, and they'll, bring you in, and then they'll ask you a bunch of questions about your health and well-being and that kind of thing. And you're brought to the magistrate. There's a whole process. And then at the very end, before you go up in the jail, that's when a nurse sees you and asks you questions, more thorough questions in reference to your medical well-being. Well, we flip-flop that. So before
You had to innovate. You had to innovate.
yeah, we had to innovate. So we flip-flopped it, and before an inmate even got out of the back of the police car, a nurse would go out, take their temperature, and ask them medical questions, see whether or not we had something to be concerned about related to COVID-19. Now, Bob, as you know, all this has changed over time. One day it's 14 days you have to worry about, then it's 10 days, and it's 7 days. And so all the parameters of what you look for and what you need to be concerned about changes, it seems like, weekly. But we did a lot of things. We looked at our supplies. So you have to make sure you have plenty of supplies, cleaning supplies, masks, gowns, those kind of things.
That about the time everybody was panicking and getting toilet paper, you were
Right.
doing the same thing, looking for supplies.
We were making sure that our supplies were all in order. We assigned someone to be in charge of that. We stepped up our cleaning efforts throughout the jail. We created a sanitation team, and which really the staff even were thrilled to see this team going around every single day, cleaning to their heart's content and enjoying it and making it fun. We did an education piece as part of our response. We wanted to educate our staff on what was known about COVID-19 and how to protect themselves. And we also did videos and education pieces for the inmates in our care, and helping them understand what they could do, even in a closed environment, to protect themselves, social distancing, washing their hands, and those kind of things. So
So even before we were talking,
approach.
yeah, even before we were talking about a new norm, you
Right.
were kind of incorporating changing how you do business. Now you got some cases to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Then all
Yes.
of a sudden I hear a drum roll is needed.
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx it. I'll knock on wood
Right.
because
Well, we had one inmate who had a slight fever, and so we decided to get him tested. And by the end of the week, we had identified 24 inmates who tested positive. Now, listen, this is my opportunity. I need to say this. The health department helped out by referring us to Centera Healthcare, and Centera Healthcare, Bob, I got to tell you, they were fantastic. Centera Healthcare stepped up and they came in. We called them on a Thursday and said, we have what we believe is a real concern on the fourth floor of our jail, and we need to know what we're dealing with. They came in by that afternoon, tested everybody that worked on the fourth floor and
wow,
all the inmates on the fourth floor. And you know how they can't say 24 to 48 hours return time on testing. Now think about this: 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. By Friday morning, we're talking about 7, 8 o'clock, they were sending us results. And
wow,
by even before 11 o'clock, Centera Healthcare had identified 24 inmates on that in one block who tested positive. Now we knew what we were dealing with, and now we knew how we needed to manage it. We then contacted the health department. The health department was fantastic. They said, "What can we do to help?" I said, "Well, uh, I need help getting all the inmates tested, so we know if we have a bigger problem than just the fourth floor." And the health department stepped up to do that. But I also called Centera Healthcare. This is where they really stepped up again. And Centera Healthcare came in and tested all of my staff. So all of my staff, so I would know, and then I would know how to manage it. If I had any additional staff who tested positive, I would know all the inmates who tested positive. So within a week and a half, we were able to identify everybody in my organization, whether they're inmates or staff members who were positive, and then we can manage it. And that's what we did. And we did everything within the guidelines of the CDC and the health department. And basically, just so that the audience knows, what that means is if you test positive, then you have to medically isolate that person. So we had a whole block where we medically isolated inmates who tested positive, and then anybody who had close contact with those persons, you would have to medically quarantine. So we medically quarantine so we can watch and monitor every single day the people who've been in close contact. The health department called it the hot zone, warm zone, and cold zone. Hot zone for those that test positive, warm for those that have been in close contact, and cold for those that we know have tested negative and we don't have a concern about. And so that's what we did. We managed it, and I am so thankful and grateful to be able to say, as of today, we have 0 cases in the jail. We didn't have anyone die as a result of it. We had
that's
no
awesome.
one seriously get sick. And in fact, most of them were mild cases. But here's the other lesson. The other lesson was over 90% of the people we tested who tested positive were asymptomatic.
Wow.
Asymptomatic. No
So
symptoms at all.
you have just described what an innovative, collaborative community can do that has a
Absolutely.
can-do attitude, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the spirit, the Prime Plus spirit I talk about a lot, which is building a safe, respectful community where it's cool to be a senior. We only got a couple of minutes left, but I got to talk about what's going on now in our community.
Okay.
We're at a challenging point, and you've got some good experience and some concepts I'd kind of like to close out on.
Okay.
What do you think about? I mean, you've been in law enforcement a long time.
Yeah, 35 years.
Yeah. And you said we've been here before. So how are we going to, what are we going to do different?
Well, what has to happen different, Bob, and I assume that you're talking about the unrest going on across the country, and which all was precipitated by the actions of some police officers in Minneapolis, and so that what we have to do now has to be a different response than we've done in the past. In the past, we've done diversity training, we've done community policing, we've done all this stuff. But the truth of the matter is, it requires city managers and mayors to make sure that they're hiring police chiefs and people who are in charge of law enforcement who are driven by values, who have a moral compass, who are not afraid to go in and try to change the culture of a police organization where that culture needs to be changed. Here at the sheriff's office, when I took over, I started the change of culture, because I've always believed that that needed to be the case. And then I had an opportunity to do it. And it started with our motto. And our motto here at the Norfolk Sheriff's Office is we serve in the spirit of the golden rule. Treat others the way you wish to be treated. And it's my firm belief, and I've been doing this a long time, that if we all just did that in law enforcement, we would have a better relationship with our communities, no matter who it is that we're serving, everybody. So it requires, some tough decisions that, a lot of times chiefs are hired based on check marks. They got an education, they got experience in law enforcement, they've been to the FBI Academy, or they've been to some other leadership institute. And those are things that city managers look for. They don't have any gray areas in their background, when really some of the questions that they should be asking during that process is, what is this person's moral compass, and where is there evidence that this person leads based on values. And so for here, our values, I enumerated what those values are at the sheriff's office, and is integrity in all things, respect at all times, duty without prejudice, pride without ego, and team before self. And we let those values guide us, and we incorporate those values in everything we do in our literature. We have an NSO newsletter. We talk about our values, we talk about our motto, and all those things. And that's how you change culture, by ensuring that all the values that you identify, that you expect, are incorporated in everything that you do. And then you also expect strict adherence to those values.
Well, Joe, you said it, and you're walking it with what we've seen in your community during some really trying times. And I think you give us an anchor of hope that if we stick to what we know are important in our values, that we're going to get through this. Thanks a lot for your service to the community for many, many years, since you were about 3 or 4 years old, right?
Yeah.
Now you get to go home and work at home.
A hall monitor in school.
There we go. Joe, thanks again. And it's good to be able to call you a friend.
Yeah, great to see you, Bob. And I appreciate what you're doing for our seniors. And just remind our seniors that Triad's coming back. It's going to be virtual, but Triad is coming back for them. Which
means I won't smell the onions and the subs next to my office. But we will come back to that building.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
As I said, do what you normally do, but as we learned from Joe, do it differently. Hey, make sure you stay safe and stay connected. Thanks a lot.